today, the talk is control of conditions. Now, when we think of control of conditions, sometimes we think that, well, I'm going to change what's happening now. We can't change what's happening now because it's already created. What we want to do is change our emotional state and our mental state so that the next moment could be more in alignment with what we truly desire. Earlier this week, there was a reading about the medium between us and our manifestation. And the subjective state of our thought decides what's going to happen to us. Okay? So we might want to have more money in our life, or to have love in our life, or whatever it is we're seeking. And what we tend to do is think, yeah, I'd love to have a new place to live. Yay, that would be great. And then we turn around and we go, yeah, but how's that going to happen? Rents are so high right now. I'm not sure if I can afford it. Oh my goodness. And we get into this state. Now that state has power. And that state comes out of the subjective thinking that we have, that subjective belief system or memories or whatever's down there that tells us that maybe that's not possible. So the subjective side of our thought is the sum total of our thinking and knowing. It is the medium between the relative and the absolute, between the limitless and the condition. So whatever is involved in it will evolve. Okay, so how do we control conditions? Well, the only way we can decide to change something in our lives, to create something different than what we currently have, it does require us to change what we believe about ourselves. Yes. You know, you've all heard of the law of attraction. It got a lot of traction a number of years ago. But the law of attraction is that who I am is what I'm going to attract to me. So if I'm angry and bitter, odds are pretty good that my surroundings are going to reflect that consciousness and begin to create along those lines. If I'm joyful and happy, then that's going to create a different energy. If I believe in the possibility of creating something magnificent, if I have a belief about that, that then will manifest. So as we talk about the control of conditions, in taking up this subject, we understand that we do not differentiate between the conscious mind and spirit. Okay? The spirit of intelligence, in order to do something for us, must do it through us. And what it must do first is become a part of our mentality before it can become an individualized experience. So our mentalities are but the spirit working through us as individuals. Yeah. Now we talk about the fact that there is only this one power, and it's right here where I am. And when Ernest Holmes says our mentalities are but the spirit working through us as individuals, we come to realize, like, wait a minute, what is that actually saying to me? Is it saying that something out there is going to harm me in here? Or is it saying that me in here can create by allowing something to flow through? So he writes on in the book to say, in the new schools of thought, there are those who claim to demonstrate by the spirit, also those who claim to demonstrate only by the mind. This is a distinction which is suppositional rather than real, and is impossible, because if there were two powers, it would at once have duality, and our philosophy of unity would be contradicted. There is but one active intelligence, whether it be the universal intelligence or universal spirit individualized in us, it's still one. Now, we do distinguish between the phases of mind, the conscious mind, the subjective mind, or unconscious. We distinguish that not because there's two things, but because there's aspects that operate together, but they do different tasks. So information comes in, and the subjective spits out the manifestation, right? It's a little bit like your computer. If you put in a virus, your computer crashes, you lose everything, and it's a mess. But if you put in QuickBooks, you're able to manage your finances. If you put in Word, now you can type a letter. It spits out according to what you've put in. Now, we understand that with our computer. We need to understand that about ourselves. Garbage in, garbage out. Beauty, grace, love in. Beauty, grace, love out. Okay? So in demonstrating conditions, the only inquiries that we need to make are, do the things that we want lend themselves to constructive program? Do they express a more abundant life and rob no one? Create no delusion, but instead, do they express a greater degree of livingness? If they do, then all the power in the universe must be behind them. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works. What I believe to be true will become my manifestation. Pretty simple, eh? All right, that's enough. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. So our thoughts, the way we think about life, what we believe to be true. Just think about when you get into a disagreement with somebody and they're telling you one thing and you believe another thing. Do you fight for your belief? Most of us do. Most of us do. If somebody comes up to you and says, I saw you Thursday at the mall, and you go, I was not at the mall on Thursday. They go, yes, you were. I saw you. Why would you lie about that? And I'm going, I actually was not at the mall on Thursday. That person might go, well, why would you lie to me? Well, why won't you tell me the truth? What are you hiding? Now, what they've done is they've created a scenario that they believe to be true, and they'll fight for it. I remember years ago going on some kind of a weight loss program. It seems to be the thing that I've done a lot of in my life. So we go on this weight loss program, and then somebody comes up to us and goes, wow, looks like you've gained a couple pounds. No, I haven't. I'm losing. And right away we go, I'm eating properly, and we start to defend what's going on. What we want to do instead is just go, well, thank you for sharing. I'm actually down to. We want to own our own journey. We don't want to be impacted by outer experience. What we want to do is own our own journey. We don't want to fight for limitation. If somebody says, oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, no, I'm not. Why not say thank you? Wow, you do that job so well. That's incredible. Oh, it's nothing. Anybody could do it. No, thank you was the correct response. These things that we put on that, deny part of our existence or whatever, these things that we say, these things are going into and coming out of our thought process and manifesting in the world. And the way they manifest is not necessarily all that pretty if we're holding to a negative concept of self, a negative idea of who or what we are. If we don't think we're enough, the world will match that energy. So what we're thinking about really matters. And so when I suggest to you that you love yourself, I'm serious. Yeah, it's not selfishness. It's not narcissism. It's how we begin to discover our full potential, begin to realize who we truly are, allow ourselves to fully celebrate in each moment and be the very essence of life that we were created to be. See, we came into this life, each and every one of us, perfect, whole, and complete, unique and special, right? Everybody. If you're a homeless person laying on the street watching this on your cell phone, you are perfect, whole, and complete, created in the image and of the likeness, and in fact you are unique and special. Because that's the truth for all of humanity. I used to have a little poster on my fridge with a face of a child on it, and at the bottom it said, God doesn't make junk. I love that. The universe doesn't make junk. If the universe is omniscience, omnipresence, then it already knows all, it is all, it's all powerful. It couldn't create flawed items. But what it does create is a perfect expression that allows for the process of living. You see, we're fortunate to be here. We're fortunate to be here. We're alive at this time. We're at a time in our lives where, something great could happen, something remarkable could happen. In fact, it is. And if we begin to look at the life around us and the world around us and see how brilliant and remarkable and talented we all are, we begin to see the gifts that each possess. You see, if each one of us lived according to our own divine nature, we would in fact have a world that was much more peaceful. So what are we doing to ourselves and to the people around us that would suggest that we're not enough or they're not enough? And what if we changed that? What if instead of trying to control people, we decided to try and love ourselves enough that we could accept who we are as we are, without defending, without explaining, but simply being present, being who we are. Ernest Holmes wrote that in demonstrating condition, the only inquiry we need to make are, do the things that we want lend themselves to constructive programs? Do they express a more abundant life, rob no one, create no delusion, but instead do they express a greater degree of livingness? If they do, then all the power in the universe must be behind them. If it is money, automobiles, houses, land, stocks, bonds, dresses, shirts, or shoestrings, cabbages or kings, all of which come from the same source. The same source. There could be nothing either in the law or the spirit back of the law to deny us the right to the greatest possible expression of life. Dr. Ernest Holmes. Wow. There is nothing that limits us except ourselves. So I want you to explore your life this week. I want you to take a look at, am I really honoring my journey? Am I really standing in who I really am? Do I care about me enough to take time for me to say no when I mean no, say yes when I mean yes? Am I ready to step into a life that is really, really mine to live? And I would ask you to check that every day. Check the things you're doing because you think you should. I always think that a should is a no. If I go, well, I should do this. Yeah, probably a no. I would like to do this, but maybe I'll do that. So we get into this place of self-talk that can be very harmful to us in the long run. Okay? If we're not telling ourselves that we're enough, if we're not telling ourselves, I love you, if we're not telling ourselves how remarkable and gifted and talented we truly are, then we are lying to ourselves. And sometimes I will hear people say, well, I don't know what my purpose is. That is a lie, actually. Because only you know what your purpose is. And if you aren't aware of that right now, then it's time to start remembering. Remembering who you are, remembering why you came, remembering what is next for you, remembering the gifts and talents that you possess. Every now and again, we'll meet somebody who's doing a job that they're doing quite well, but it's really obvious that they don't like it. And yet here they are, putting in time, staying around, sticking around, doing it over and over again, hating every moment of it. What would be the point of that? What would be the point of that? But a lot of us do it, don't we? And it's not to make us bad and wrong if that's what we're doing. It's to acknowledge that, wow, we're doing this. Why? Why wouldn't we leave and go do something we enjoy? Now, what sometimes comes back is money. And we think the job is our source. No, the universe is our source. So the only thing we ever need to change is our mind. And if we change it well enough, our belief system will change with it. Once our beliefs change, then the world around us begins to shift and change. So I invite you to just spend the week exploring. Just notice when you're feeling a little off. Notice when you're thinking about something and it's upsetting. And just ask yourself, just take a moment quietly to go, what do I believe about this situation? And then listen to what comes up. Listen to what's there for you. Listen to that still small voice or the emotional attachment you have to a certain outcome. Just observe it and make a note about it and ask yourself, how is this serving me? And if it isn't, then ask yourself, what do I need? What do I need? We don't want to deny the experience. We just want to deny its power. See, it has no power in our life unless we give it power. So we can turn around instead and go, well, I don't need to control conditions. What I need to do is live in this moment and awaken to a deeper sense of myself. And by doing that, I begin to create a really powerful and remarkable existence. Now, when we're doing treatment, we're treating for the outcome, the end result. So when I do treatment with anybody, I ask 2 questions, only 2 questions. And the first one is, what do you want? And the second question is, how would you feel if you had that? If you woke up tomorrow morning and your life was this perfect thing that you think you want, what would that feel like? And when I'm going into treatment, I'm going into that feeling space, because the feelings tell me more than the wanting. And so we put the 2 together and we're like, well, I want a new car. Well, there's a dealership right down the street. Go get one. Oh, well, I can't afford one right now, or it's not in my budget. Okay, so then we should be treating about your finances so that you can afford to go get that new car. Oh, yeah, finances, more abundance. Yeah, well, how would that feel? If you had enough money for the car and you had enough money for all your expenses and all was well, how would that feel emotionally? Well, my boss can't really afford to give me a raise. No. Your boss is not your source. You see, we come up with these arguments about how it can't happen. Well, when we think it can't, we get to be right. And when we think it can, we get to be right. See, whatever we believe to be true is true for us, not for anybody else. Maybe for someone else, but basically it's true for us. And if it's true for us, could it be true for someone else? Oh, I'm sure it could. But what's true for us is not necessarily true for everybody else. And so we want to pay attention. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind, I just want to grab this quote here. I didn't take it out earlier. He says, if we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. When we believe that it cannot and will not, then, according to the principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does, only it does according to our belief that it will not. Whew, there's a bit of a mind twister, isn't it? What he's saying here, this is on page 52 of the Science Mind, at the bottom. When he is saying that if I don't believe it will happen, it won't happen. Well, that is the law working, right? I didn't believe it, the law goes yes, and it didn't happen. If I believe it can happen, and it happens, that's because I believed it could happen. So again, he says, if we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. So if I believe it won't work, it won't work. That's the universe saying yes. If I believe it will work and it does work, that's the universe saying yes. Okay, so it all comes down to what we believe. So there's a lot of work we can do around this idea of creating life in accordance with the universe. And we do that when we allow ourselves to fully surrender. And by surrender, I don't mean give up. I mean allow yourself to relax into the flow of life. Allow yourself to be present. And when you're doing your treatment and you're doing that first step of recognition, to really recognize the presence of the One. Do that step over and over again till you feel it at the very core of your being. And then state affirmatively, positively, and in the present tense what it is you desire. Yeah, life is good and all is well. Namaste.